Hi guys, today I am here to share the birth story for little Miss Annabelle and how she got here. So thank you guys for watching. I know it has been a little while. She is 3 weeks old today. So we are going to go ahead and do this. I may have to split it up into two parts. From 39 weeks pregnant, I have been losing like bits of my mucus plug pretty well every day. With my other kids, I would like lose it the day before I went into labor. So a couple of times I thought for sure, like, oh, I should definitely be having a baby, but it just wouldn't happen. And it just continued. Every day I'd lose a little bit more. But I never lost like a ton at once. So I think that's just because it was just gradual. My other kids had been born at, Evelyn was induced, Josiah was born on his due date, and Nimi was born the day before his due date. And we use natural family planning, so we chart cycles, and I know my due dates are 100% accurate based on ovulation. So I knew my date was accurate with Annabelle too. Thought for sure she would be born right around, like right close to my due date as well. And the night before my due date, I had, and I think I talked about this in my 40-week pregnancy vlog, but the night before I had contractions for about 5 hours, and then when I went to time them, I pretty much quit having them. So I really thought I was going into labor that night, and it would have lined up with like when I had my other babies, but I didn't. Labor stopped, and honestly the whole next week, like being 40 weeks pregnant, I felt really good. I didn't have a bunch of contractions at all. Like most days I had none. If I did have any, it'd just be like a few very mild ones. I was doing stuff, walking, having fun, going out with friends, and not necessarily to like induce labor. I honestly felt really good, and I wanted to get out of the house, and it was nice to stay busy and not think about it. And I was cleaning every single day and making sure everything was ready. And yeah, that week I was like, I am never gonna have a baby, am I? Because I feel really good, and there is not a single sign of labor whatsoever. So I was due on May 12th. On May 18th, that morning, I noticed that I had lost a little more plug. But at this point, there was like a little bit of blood in it. Every time I went to the bathroom, there was a little bit more blood. And I had actually never experienced a bloody show in my other pregnancies. I mean, I bled like when I was in labor, but I didn't experience it beforehand. I knew it was pretty normal, didn't think much of it, and I wasn't having contractions or anything, so I went about my day. So we ended up driving towards their house, like 20 minutes, a park near them to have a picnic. And on the way there, I had a couple of really painful contractions in the car, and I almost considered turning around and going home because they hurt really bad, but I was like, well, you know, 2 contractions really doesn't mean anything. So we got to the park, we fed ducks, I took a couple of pictures. I will insert one right here. This is the day that I ended up going into labor. A couple pictures, we had a picnic, we hung out, and I didn't have any contractions while I was like walking around or hanging out there, even though I had had a couple in the car. So I was like, well, that was nothing then, forget that. I got home around 2:00 p.m. and put the kids down for a nap, and about the time I did that, my sister-in-law texted me and said she was on her way to hang out with her 2 daughters. This was a plan we had already made. She was on her way, asked if I wanted a happy hour drink from Sonic, which I gladly accepted, and she came on over with her 2 kids. So we had a really nice visit that afternoon, and the kids were playing and just running out their energy and being wild. And I was having a few mild contractions here and there, but nothing terrible. I did have to stop and breathe through them a couple times, but it really wasn't bad. It wasn't anything that made me think that I was in labor or going to go into labor. It was just mild, and like I said, a week earlier I had had contractions for 5 hours straight, and then labor stopped. So I was not one bit concerned about that. And my sister-in-law left about 6:30, and she said she had been timing my contractions and they were between 10 and 20 minutes apart, which I didn't realize they were that close together. And when she left, she was like, yeah, I'm gonna take home my girls and I'll probably see you back tonight. And I was like, whatever. I'm not having a baby today. First of all, it was already 6:30 in the evening. And secondly, like I said, the contractions were mild, they weren't that bad, and yeah, I was just nowhere near anywhere close to being in labor. At least I didn't think I was. Like right after they left, I had a couple of pretty painful contractions, and I thought, well, she said I was having them like 10 to 20 minutes apart, so I decided that maybe if I kept having them, I would go ahead and start timing my contractions. And I wrote down the first one at 7:03 p.m. and I was like, maybe, I just wrote it down. I didn't think I was in labor, but I wrote it down just to see if they got any closer together. And I was thinking like, well, maybe I'll have a few contractions and then I can go to bed early, and hey, I might wake up in labor. That'd be nice. I was 40 weeks and 6 days pregnant, almost 41 weeks. Like I said, it was the evening. So I was a week past my due date, basically. And yeah, I thought maybe I could go to bed and I might wake up in labor, but I wanted to go ahead and start timing them just to see what was going on. This is when I started writing down contractions. You can see 7:03 p.m. So that was what I was doing. And actually, it's funny, before that you can see my little to-do list that I had going that day. I was doing laundry, dinner on the crock pot, things like that. Like I was just having a regular day. Going into labor had not even crossed my mind. I realized that they were pretty much coming about 7 minutes apart every time. It dawned on me at that point, oh, I did have some blood today, and now my contractions are 7 minutes apart. So well, maybe I could go into labor. Still wasn't convinced. At about 8 o'clock, I texted my doula and my midwife, and I said, hey, I think I might be in early labor. It's not too bad. I'll let you know what happens. And my midwife was like, cool, I'm praying. And my doula, which is also a great friend of mine, she's like, oh, I'm so excited. It definitely sounds like it could be, because I told her I had some blood and mucus. And she was like, do you want me to come now? I said, no, don't come now, because I don't even know if it's actually labor and I don't want you to have to go home. So I said, how about we will just see what happens over the next hour. So it was 8 o'clock. My husband was trying to get the kids in bed, and if I'm still having contractions in an hour, then maybe you can come. So she was like, okay, I'm packed and ready. In the meantime, I went and I have a deck and like a flight of stairs down, and so I thought, okay, I'll just walk up and down these stairs and maybe that'll help my cervix soften, and that way if I go into labor tomorrow, maybe it'll be faster. So I walked up and down the stairs for about 15 minutes, really intense contraction, and I texted my doula and I said, come now. And that was at about 8:15, 8:20-ish. And I also had already texted my sister-in-law and said, hey, contractions have picked up since you left, but don't come yet. I don't think it's anything major. And in the meantime, she lives about 45-50 minutes away. So she had already driven to our brother-in-law's house, which lives like 10 minutes away, and I had no idea she had done that, because I guess she had a feeling that I was going to go fast. After I had walked the stairs, I went up and said goodnight to my kiddos, and I thought about saying to them, oh, maybe you'll have a baby sister tomorrow, but I decided not to, because I really thought, oh, maybe I'm in early labor, but I didn't want to set up that expectation that maybe she would be here, because I still wasn't convinced that I could have hours and hours or days even of that. So I didn't want to expect anything or have them expecting anything and be disappointed. 9 o'clock, my doula, and she's also a student midwife, she got here. She had my husband start blowing up the birth tub. Plan was for her to check me, because in previous births I have not had the urge to push, I'd kind of predetermined prior to this birth. I got to a 10 and was there for a little bit. If I hadn't had the urge to push, I could just go ahead and push and see what happens, because in the past I had stuck around at fully dilated for like 7 hours and never had the urge to push. So we just decided that we were going to avoid that little issue. I had not showered that day yet, and I had been, like I said, went to the park, and I was like, oh, I probably stink. So let me just take a shower real quick and then you can check me. So I got in the shower, and from the time my doula got there at 9, I was starting, they picked up from 7 minutes apart to about 5 minutes apart. And then I got in the shower at 9:15 or so, and they quickly picked up to 2 to 3 minutes apart. And I had handed my paper to my doula, and I said, you write down the contractions, and we'll see if they're getting any closer to find out if I'm actually in labor. And she was like, Mackenzie, you're definitely in labor. You're a week past your due date. You're having contractions really close together. I can tell you're in pain, like you're definitely in labor. And I was like, I don't know. So while I got up to 2 to 3 minutes apart, my sister-in-law got here while I was in the shower. I still was just, it hurt pretty bad. I was starting to get upset because I didn't know why it hurt so bad. I was only, what I thought, an hour or 2 into labor. And so, yeah, I didn't really know what was going on. I thought I was maybe just psyching myself out because I didn't think there was any way that it could hurt that bad already. And I thought I was just being a big baby, a big wuss. And, you know, I've had 4 kids, and I was just like, there's no way that I am already hurting this bad an hour or 2 into labor. 9:30, I was out of the shower and ready for my doula to check me. And she is a student midwife. She is still learning, and she hasn't had a ton of experience with it. So she needed me to lay down so she could do it, and I would lay down and then have a contraction and flip back over real fast. So she had kind of a hard time getting me to lay still so she could check me, because if I would start to have a contraction laying down, that was super painful. So I would flip. Then finally, I stayed still. My sister-in-law is like holding my hands while my doula / student midwife is trying to check me and she's like, I'm not feeling anything. And I was like, what does that mean? It's about 9:30 or so at this point. Really unsure. And she was like, I don't know. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe it's really far back, or you could be complete, because if you think about it, it's like paper thin once you're fully soft and all that. And I was like, whatever, there's no way I'm complete. So she went ahead and called the midwife and told her that maybe she should head this way, and asked her what to do. And she said, okay, check this posterior angle and see if you can feel anything that way. So she checked me again that way to see if my cervix was posterior, and she was like, I still don't feel anything. And I was like, I don't know what that means, and I'm getting really frustrated. I'm hurting super bad. And she was like, well, I think you might be complete, but I hate to tell you that, because the plan was for me to start pushing when I was complete. And she was like, if I'm wrong and you start pushing, you're gonna hate me. So she didn't want to tell me that, and I didn't think I was complete, and she was like also feeding off of me. She's like, you really don't seem like you think that. I was thinking in my mind, great, she doesn't know what she's doing. I'm probably like not dilated at all, and my cervix is really far back, and that's why she doesn't feel anything. And I was just kind of upset. So she said that Debbie would be on her way, that's the midwife, and when Debbie got there, she could check me since she had more experience, and then we could see what to do, because she didn't want to be really, really wrong. At that point, it was almost 10 o'clock by the time she checked me twice, had all that discussion. Steven was filling up the pool. I still hadn't gotten in the birth tub yet. So they were getting the pool ready, filling it up. The midwife was on her way. The photographer was on her way, taking a shower beforehand and used hot water. So the water was kind of chilly, so they were also bringing up boiling water in the birth tub. I was not happy about it being still pretty chilly. and the contractions were really, really bad. Legs and my back were hurting. Nothing anybody did helped. So I was remembering my previous birth with my son Nehemiah, and I had hard back labor with him the whole time, and so they would like push on my back and help me, and it did help. So I wanted a birth team to help me, and I was asking for them to help me, but then they would touch me and it didn't help, and it actually hurt more, and it irritated me, and so I'd yell at them. I wasn't not a very pleasant person to be around in this labor. And let me tell you, everything was very intense. My aunt came in, which got here, and she was praying because I kind of hit that point of like, I can't do this, and I didn't think I was very far along in labor. You have to remember, I started writing contractions down at 7 p.m. It wasn't because I thought I was in labor. It was just to see, oh, are these gonna, you know, pick up at all? I really wasn't convinced I was in labor until about 9 o'clock. And so, if anything, you could say that my labor started around 7, but I wasn't convinced until more like 8 o'clock or 9. That's when I actually called my doula, and then when she got here and she told me there's no way you're not in labor, that was really when I was more convinced. So now it's like 10:15, 10:30, and so I'm like, I've been in labor like 2.5 hours, and I didn't think it could hurt that bad. So I was actually not thinking I was really far along. I was thinking maybe something was wrong with me because it was so painful, and I just kept talking myself down and telling myself there's no way it can hurt this bad. Mackenzie, get it together. You're being a big baby. This is not, you know, this can't be that bad. So cut it out. That was my self-talk going on in my mind. I wanted my midwife to come and let me know if I was complete, or if I was like a 2, or if my baby had went in a weird position, or what was going on. So there was a huge storm. It was raining and thundering and hailing, and there was tornado warnings, and it was just a crazy storm. And my midwife already lives about 40 minutes away from me-ish. So she said she had to drive like 15 to 20 miles an hour the whole way here, even on the highway. And so it took her from like 9:45 or so, when Rachel told her to come, to 11 o'clock to get to my house. So she gets here at 11 o'clock, and my aunt tells her, hurry up and come in, and she comes up in our door upstairs to the bedroom. She walks in the bedroom, and I see her, and my first thought was, oh, thank you God, I am so glad she's here. She can tell me if I'm actually in labor and gonna have a baby anytime soon. And as that thought left my mind, I had a really crazy hard contraction, and my body started to push on its own. And like I said, I've never had the urge to push. I've never waited for my body to push on its own, and I had no idea what was happening. I know it's crazy, like it's my 4th baby, but I honestly was really confused, and it freaked me out. Screaming and starting to panic, and I was like, what is happening to me? And my midwife was like, I'm just gonna feel under your bottom. And so she put her hand under there, and I thought that meant she was gonna check me and tell me what was going on. But she didn't check me, and I didn't know what she was doing. And so I said, what's going on? And she was like, you're having a baby. Well, that didn't mean anything to me at all. I was like, is she just telling me I'm in labor? I was getting irritated. I was like, gosh, please tell me if I'm complete or not. And then my body started pushing again. I felt something starting to come out, and I was like, what is coming out of me? And then she was like, you're having a baby. I thought it was like mucus or blood. And it started burning really, really bad, like what you would, I guess, call maybe the ring of fire. I don't know. It wasn't as bad as in other births, so maybe that's why I was confused. But it started like burning, and I screamed because I was having the baby at that point, because I was like, why would it burn like that? So I was like, is she coming out right now? Is she coming out? And she was like, yes, she is. You're doing great. When she was born, it was actually the water bag coming out first, and I guess there was like a good amount of water bag bulging out first. My water had not broken yet, obviously, at this point. And then her head as well. So when she was born, she was actually born in her water sac, which is, I guess, really rare to happen. And also like a good thing because you're not feeling as much pressure as normal, even though it was very, very intense and burning. Pulling her out, it broke so almost immediately. So it wasn't like she stayed in her water bag for a long time, but she was born in her water sac, which was pretty awesome. I was kind of squatting when I had her, and they helped her come up to me, and it was 11:12 p.m. when she was born. So she was born literally 12 minutes after the midwife walked through the door, which is crazy, and I was still not fully convinced that I was going to have a baby anytime soon at that point. So it is insane. Earlier, I don't know if I mentioned this, but earlier on, my sister-in-law was like, oh, I wonder if she'll be born on the 18th or the 19th. And I was like, why would you even say that? There's no way she'll be born on the 18th, because it was like 9:30 or something, 10 maybe. And I just really thought that it had been too short of a time and I was in early labor. The pain was tremendous. It hurt bad enough that looking back, I'm like, I should have known I was that far because it hurt that bad. But it was the time that was messing with my head, because after my shortest labor prior being 12 hours, 2 hours into labor, even if it hurts that bad, I'm just thinking there's absolutely no way possible that I'm towards the end of labor. So after she was born, I had her and I was like, whoa, I can't believe it's over. I can't believe it's over. I can't believe she's here. I was so shocked. It was just like surreal that I was holding my baby. And my midwife was like, well, it's not over. You're still pregnant. You still have a placenta. So I was there for a minute and I had a couple contractions, but I didn't really feel like I needed to push. And then I had one, and she was like, just make sure you're not blocking the door. Basically, like, don't sit on your vagina because then it can't come out. And so I just floated there. I was still holding my baby, cord still attached. And then I had a contraction and I pushed and the placenta came out pretty quickly. It hadn't been that long, so that was a blessing because I have had issues in the past delivering the placenta. So basically this birth was just totally different than all my others. So much better. Everything we prayed for, I was praying for a fast, quick delivery. All of that happened and then some. I was planning to just push when I was complete. I wasn't planning to get the urge to push. I wasn't praying to get the urge to push, but I did. I wasn't praying about the placenta coming quickly on its own, but it did. And my midwife and others were praying those things even when I didn't. I have a little one that just woke up and wanted to be with mama. She was born at 11:12. We did not weigh her right away. She was on skin to skin for a while. So I actually had the experience of holding my baby. She's still attached to the cord and having the placenta next to me in a bowl while I'm still in the birth tub. So that was awesome because I've never had that. We got to the bed and Steven did cut the cord so we could get up and get to the bed. That was a little bit later. It had stopped pulsing. Everything was going good. She was ready to eat. She was born ready to eat. So, look, she's ready to eat now. She's like, I'm going to eat my hands about it. Steven helped cut the cord. She was, like, moving her arms and legs, and it was actually a little nerve-wracking because trying to cut the cord and she was moving so much. I did get to cut the umbilical cord and hold her while I moved to the bed, like a bag with cotton balls and ammonia. That way I wouldn't pass out if I got up to go to the restroom, which I had no issues with. Past, I have had issues with that. And so she nursed, and then she pooped, meconium poop, and she did really good. We decided to go ahead and weigh her and do all that fun stuff. So we weighed her and she was 8 pounds 15 ounces, which was smaller than I thought she was. I actually, when I pulled her up, I was like, oh, you don't look that big. compared to what I was expecting like a 10.5 pound baby. So even though she was nearly 9, that seems small after you've had bigger babies. 21.5 inches long. We had no tearing or rips or cuts or scrapes or bruises or anything in my lady area at all. So that was great. To Facebook video chat my grandma and show her, and she was so excited because she was nervous that I was gonna have like a long hard labor since she thought I was huge. And I got to show her that everything was fine, and she was actually born that night and quickly and healthy and all was good. So we just had a great labor experience, fast, intense, but overall easy and easy on me, and she is just doing so great and such a blessing. And that feeling, getting to hold a healthy baby that is nursing and crying and all the things babies are supposed to do, pooping, everything, after a miscarriage a year ago. And then to have such a healthy baby, especially being told that you might not be able to have more kids, or might be like a really, really long time. It's so special. She really is our rainbow baby. She's a huge blessing, and God provided for us through the whole pregnancy and the labor and delivery, and gave us everything that we desired and asked for, and so much more. So it has been a wonderful journey having her, and now even more of a journey now that we are adjusting to being a family of 6, since she is our 4th little kiddo, and the kids all love her and adore her. Actually, they were in bed when she was born, and I said, wow, she has hair. And I guess me being loud and like screaming towards the end of birth woke up my kids, but they were still being good and staying in bed. But I said, oh wow, she has hair. And I hear my 4-year-old son go, Evelyn, the baby has hair. And I had no idea they were awake, so it was so cute. And while I was getting in the bed, Stephen went and took the baby to the kids' room so they could see that she was here. And it was just so special. 3 weeks old now. She is doing just great, and I am so blessed. So that is it for our labor and delivery story. I hope you enjoyed, and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already to see more updates. And I am going to try to get back to vlogging soon. It's been a long while since I've done like actual vlogs about our day and stuff, so want to get back to that as well. Thank you again, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.